Hello, welcome to the first session of the ACM Hangout series organized by Arts Council Malta. This series is Arts Council Malta's regular virtual platform for networking and knowledge-sharing sessions, as well as discussions and regular meetings with the cultural and creative sectors. We are starting off the series with 5 sessions focusing on the beneficiaries of the investment in cultural organizations. Together, we shall explore a range of themes which are relevant both to the organizations themselves and to the cultural and creative sectors in general. The idea is that through these sessions, we initiate networking whilst instilling a sense of collaboration between the beneficiaries and providing a platform for development. So the theme for today's session is tapping into collectivity. We will focus on collectivity with the aim of exploring how different platforms employ various ways to keep their team focused, interested, and engaged year after year. It will also tap into the aspect of volunteering and the value which this adds to the organization itself and to the event activity. So basically now we're going to follow a number of different presentations by our key speakers tonight. We're going to be taking questions as we go along. So we're going to have some time as well to interact and to discuss this theme which we're discussing today, together with all those following live on Arts Council Malta's Facebook page and also on Zoom. At the end of the session, then, our rapporteur, Stephanie Bonnici, will be giving a quick roundup of what we discussed during the session. I would also like to remind you that the session is being recorded. So I would now like to give the floor to Ms. Marianne Cauchi, who is the Director of Funding and Strategy at Arts Council Malta, for her introduction. Marianne?
Thank you, Elaine, for that lovely start and introduction to our ACM Hangouts. A little short thought about these ACM Hangouts. Basically, we have our ACM labs, and that's a different sort of platform, and now we're introducing precisely these ACM Hangouts, which we feel they're very much linked to the situation we've been through and maybe also what we're looking towards the future. As you said, our investment in cultural organizations are very important to us. They are our partners as Arts Council Malta. Our partners for a number of years, for 3 years, and precisely they are in the first year running. Obviously, there were a lot of challenges and still undergoing a lot of challenges, and we will do this together. As I always say, we're in this together, and I think it's quite a cliche at this point. We're in this together. Yes, and these organizations have something very much in common, which is the good towards the creative and cultural sector. So yes, when we look at the 15 organizations that benefit out of this program. They do not benefit only financially, but also on other levels, whether it's consultancy, whether it's training and development, and whether it's networking and sharing. So yes, they benefit on various levels. So like this, also they leave their trace in the community. We have to mention that organizations, although we believe very much in, having a professional and creative economy, we also have to keep the balance with the volunteering aspect. We have to keep the balance with the, organizations, and they volunteer and keep the community together. So yes, we help in this regard as well. There again, it's not only financial. Volunteering, I believe, especially on the island, but I'm experiencing this is also in other countries, is the ground of it all. If it weren't for volunteering, I believe the creative and cultural sector on the island would have, it doesn't exist. and wouldn't have started. Eventually, yes, we came to be professional, and there is a whole system, economy, and as you know, people earn their living out of this sector. So it's very good. But we need to keep strengthening the element of volunteering, of collectivity, working together, working for each other as well, sharing resources, sharing information, which is very important. So I think being part of the Investment in Cultural Organizations program, yes, benefits on various levels. And we intend to keep strengthening the various levels, not only the financial, which is very important, but not only. So this is something, as an Arts Council Malta, we very much would like to emphasize. We are not just a funding body, but we stand for many other reasons. You know, whether it's cultural rights, something we will be introducing very shortly, whether it's advocacy. So, you know, whether it's well-being, whether it's education and development, we stand for various other areas, strategic areas within the culture and creative sector.
That's great, Marianne. Thank you for that introduction. And obviously, through these sessions, we are going to actually have the opportunity to meet the beneficiaries, but also to share some of the expertise, the practices, good practices, what they've been doing so far. Because obviously, we recognize that each and every organization works well within its own field, and we can benefit from knowledge and expertise which they have. So I hope it will be...
That's very important. The fact that you share, knowledge sharing and networking, I think is key in the sector. Working together is key. I mean, no man is an island, nothing new. I'm saying nothing new, but we need to practice it, especially under such circumstances, and even in inverted commas, normal circumstances. It's very important. When you share, is sometimes already helping solve certain challenges and certain issues. And you start learning and gaining different practices. So I see it actually happening through various sessions. We just finished a number of sessions. We've been going on with various sessions since March, different sessions tackling different topics, and the feedback that we receive is amazing in the sense they feel they've grown and we've become different altogether, which is a good and is a positive, and we should keep it going. And this is the reason behind certain also, you know, occasions like this.
Thank you, Marianne. So I would like to remind you, all those who are following us on Facebook or on Zoom, to send messages, send your questions, send your comments, and we'll be able to discuss them later on during our session. So each session will be featuring a number of different organizations benefiting from the investment in cultural organizations. And today we are meeting representatives from Inizjamed, Kinemastic, and Wicked Comics. Here is a short video about the organizations. We will also be meeting L-Ghanja tal-Poplu, which is a volunteer organization which organizes the renowned Maltese Song Festival, which bears the same name as the organization. This organization is funded through the ICO in collaboration with the Valletta Cultural Agency. So let's start our round of presentations. Our first speaker, who is actually Susanne Næss Nielsen. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Susanne is the director of Dansarena Nord and head of a producers hub and the Competence Center for Performing Arts in Arctic Norway. Dansarena Nord supports the production and presentation of dance and performing arts by offering space for production, mentor, and producer support, workshops, and different types of courses, as well as working internationally to promote performing artists from Arctic Norway. Susanne is one of the members of the board of directors of IETM, vice chairman of the Audio and Visual Fund of Norway, member of the board of Performing Arts Hub Norway, and one of the founders of the Norwegian National Dance Touring Network. Susanne.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I hope you can all hear me. I think
yes, thank you, Susanne.
Great. I'm very happy to be joining you today and this afternoon. I am joining you from the island of Kvaløya. It's an island southwest of the North Cape in Norway. And as said, both being the director of the Dance Center in Arctic Norway, I'm also a member of the board of directors in IETM, and I'm here to talk about IETM. So IETM was founded in 1981 as the informal European theatre meeting, and it grew bigger while the world was shrinking. Today, it is a network of almost 500 arts organizations from more than 50 countries working in contemporary performing arts worldwide. And the mission is to advocate for the arts and culture in a changing world and to empower performing arts professionals through access to international connections, knowledge, and a dynamic forum for exchange. So I'm not going to roll back to the whole history of IETM, but I would spend some time talking about what kind of activities IETM makes, because that is the key of engaging the members all over the world. So firstly, IETM has a members news page. This is an open space where a member can issue their calls for contributions or residencies. They can post information about opportunities. They can promote a festival or whatever they would like to state to the other members. There is also a forum. It's a public chat where one can engage with the other members in a discussion. You can ask for advice, look for travel buddies if you're attending a meeting, and you can discover new members. The main event of IETM are the plenary meetings, and those are being held each spring and autumn and has up to 600 participants. And the organization that I'm working in, Dansarena Nord, was going to host the spring plenary meeting this year had it not been for COVID-19. That's life. We also have the satellite meetings, and the satellite meetings are mini plenaries that happen once a year, and there are about 150 to 200 participants to the satellite meetings. Then there are the caravans. These are short but intensive cultural trips once a year towards December. And the caravans is for an intimate group of about 25 participants to explore the performing arts scene of a specific city, region, or country. Then there are on the road meetings. These are consultations that IETM proposed to members based in a specific countries. And this is a way for members in a country to connect to IETM directly. There are also single-day events. These can be lectures, debates, and workshops. And these tackle any specific theme that is relevant for the performing arts sector and the network. In addition to all of this, IETM is also hosting career development programs. Sorry about that.
Jeg fant dette på nettet for Hosi.
My Siri was talking. The staff exchange program is a great opportunity to gain a short but a valuable international experience. And you can join a member organization for a while, and then you will also be hosting a professional from abroad. And then there is the IETM campus. It's a week-long summer school for a group of 20 to 25 professionals with mentors and professional feedbacks during that week. And in addition to this, there is also a lot of written material being produced. So publications and reports in a lot of different categories, mappings with an overview of the situation in a country. And these are all free to download and share. There is a toolkit being made, and it's a short and a practical approach to a specific topic. And then there are different themes. It's content created by IETM staff and the members, also on a variety of subjects. And then there are the highlights, and these are updates on current policy and advocacy actions. It could be call for participation and any other new relevant news relevant for the performing arts sector. So depending on how you like to engage in the network, there are lots of opportunities to engage throughout a year. And of course, such a big network has a huge spread in engagement. A lot of the members engage by participating in the plenary meetings, others engage by discussing different issues on the chat, and others go a little bit in and out, engaging strongly for a while, and then kind of keeping low for a while. And I would say that Dansarena, which is the organization where I work, started by registering as a member, but we did not participate actively for a while. So we decided that before making a final decision on whether to stay in IETM or not, we wanted to participate in 2 meetings before letting IETM go. And of course, it's obvious that if you engage in something, you are most likely also subject to gain from it. And that is what we did. So now we have used almost all the possibilities that IETM has to offer. We have not participated in an IETM campus or a satellite meeting, but we are planning to host one of these meetings in the near future. So there is still a lot of discussion and work going on in that sense. I think the key for the members to engage so strongly are the many different formats one can choose to participate in. But of course, one has to invest some time to get to know all the possibilities of the network. One of the reasons for it making sense for the dance sector of Arctic Norway is that hardly anyone comes here on their own, and travels are expensive and time-consuming. Going to a plenary meeting, we make sure that we meet everyone we need to meet during that time, and that means time and money saved. Another reason is, of course, also to stay on top of the international discourse, to follow what is happening around us, and to support colleagues as they will support us if needed. And through IETM, we have met several new partners for new projects. So the big network that is coming together throughout the year makes it easier to be living far, far away from the metropoles of Europe. And I think this is exactly what brings the members together, the need for some kind of common ground to mirror our reality with the reality of others, and to support each other's fight for contemporary art wherever we live and work. It almost sounds like an idealistic manifesto, but I feel quite confident that a lot of organizations has brought a lot of strength and knowledge into their organizations by joining the network of IETM. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanne. It is idealistic, but it is also quite interesting, and I think it reveals the key to keeping your members there, to keeping your members engaged. So I think that's a very interesting perspective, and I'm pretty sure that some of it will be touched upon by our speakers here, and also will be having the opportunity to discuss in more detail during our questions and comment section. Thanks for that. Before we introduce our video, but unfortunately we had a technical problem, sorry about that. So we should have it ready now. Here is a short video about the organizations here today.
F'dawn l-aħħar snin, Wicked Comics organizzat l-avveniment magħruf bħala il-Malta Comic Con. Waqt dan l-avveniment mistiednu diversi artisti barranin tal-comics kif ukoll ħafna artisti Maltin tal-comics biex juru t-talent tagħhom lill-pubbliku Maltin.
Kinemastic has been around for 16 years. It's a cultural organization that organizes screenings, concerts, exhibitions, workshops and so on. However, our flagship event is Kinemastic Short Film Festival.
Inizjamed hija għaqda kulturali u taħdem l-aktar fil-qasam letterarju. Wieħed mill-ikbar avvenimenti tagħha huwa l-Festival Mediterranju tal-Letteratura li jittella kull sena u din is-sena se nkunu qegħdin niċċelebraw il-15-il edizzjoni. Il-Festival Mediterranju tal-Letteratura jagħti esperjenza letterarja lil pubbliku. Grazzi ħafna wkoll għall-sħubija li għandu mal-Arts Council ta' Malta. L-esperjenza letterarja hija li l-pubbliku jista' jiltaqa' ma' awturi differenti kemm Maltin u kemm barranin u jiftakar li l-eruq tiegħu huwa il-Mediterran.
Thanks to the ICO funds and Arts Council, Kinemastic will be able to do its events for another year running.
F'dawn it-3 snin li ġejjin, l-Arts Council Malta għettejna biex inkabru l-event tal-Malta Comic Con biex jilħaq iktar nies ħankunu nistgħu nuru x-xena tal-comics li l-iktar familji Maltin, nuruhom kif il-comics huwa medium importanti ħafna għall-edukazzjoni ta' wliedna sabiex inresquhom viċin il-qari kif ukoll l-arti.
Okay, so on to our next speaker, Jean-Paul Borch from Inizjamed, who will be sharing the organization's perspective about today's brief. Jean-Paul, in your good hands.
Thank you, Lane. I'm Jean-Paul, I'm the coordinator of Inizjamed. Inizjamed, as we've been talking, we are a cultural NGO and it is made basically of volunteers. Our 2 main commitments is the regeneration of culture and artistic expression in the Maltese island, and also the promotion of the awareness of the Mediterranean cultures. As much as we are European, we are also Mediterranean, and we therefore strive to show that part of our identity. As our main flagship, it's the Malta Mediterranean Literature Festival, which has been going on now for the past 15 years. It started as a small weekend event at St. James Cavalier. It moved to Couvreport, then even to the Garden of Rest, and now for the last 4 or 5 years we've been at the Grand Fort St. Elmo. Also, but Inizjamed has been founded way back in 1998. So this is actually the 22nd year of Inizjamed. What we believe in, what Inizjamed believes in, who we are. First of all, we believe in cooperation and collaboration. We believe also in partnership, and contrary to the corporate world and to what most people believe, what we're always bombarded with, we don't really believe in competition. It is an ethical issue for us, and also we believe that in the long term, harmony is far more effective than competition. As you can see in those photos, for example, we're collaborating with Khela. We've done works with Poetry in Potato Bags, which we've been working also with organizations in the Netherlands. Also, as a structure, as many voluntary organizations, we believe in teams rather than a hierarchy. In fact, those 3 circles that you can see at the moment represent the core. Represent, we have a team, and also we have an extended team. Obviously, these circles, these teams are very fluid, and the magic of Inizjamed is that first of all, decisions are taken after consulting each other. Also, our members focus on specific tasks, and also members drift from one team to another due to personal circumstances, due to personal project, but they still keep on making part of Inizjamed. Also, as I've spoken in another slide, we believe in harmony, so we believe also in involving others. And it's not just in involving other different members of our teams. We believe also in giving active roles to other organizations. For example, on the photo on the left, that's our book stall at the festival, which is always run by the Aqda tal-Malti, which is a university organization. Through that, we expose students to the cultural field. On the other side, we also involve humanitarian groups. There's also the literature across frontiers, so we move even beyond the Maltese shores. So as long as groups, organizations share the same ethos as ourselves, we strive to meet and involve each other. What makes us tick? I think it's motivation. As a volunteer, I mean, a main theme for a volunteer is being motivated. Also, we believe that we have to provide a platform for authors and readers to meet. I mean, in literature doesn't exist without authors, but equally, literature doesn't exist without readers. So, Inizjamed strives to create a platform where these two sides of the same coin meet to each other. For example, we also, through the years, we involve the public to rather be just a spectator, to get on stage, excuse me, and also read their work, etc. Also, we involve artists from different forms of art, from photography, film, and art. For example, poets meet people from the film industry.
Thank you very much.
And we create poetry films. Finally, we are here because we believe in literary arts. We see it, as I can attest myself, as a source of personal growth, and also it is a means of becoming more human and more humane. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think this is really interesting, and it's in a way it's what brings us together. No, what makes these groups so interesting. That year after year, you keep going back to the same group, to the same platform, and you have the strength against all odds. I remember one episode from the Inizjamed festival where there was a big storm and and the stage was literally blown away. You know, but against all odds, you keep going back, and I think it's the friendship, it's the interest, it's the passion which makes it so interesting and which has helped its growth over the years.
And also, people, when they involve themselves, they actually, I can see it in myself, people change completely, and it gives you something that I think very few careers can give.
Exactly. It's different. The structure is different, but there's still motivation, and you still keep going because of that. Very interesting. So we'll have some time to speak about this with our panel later on. But in the meantime, if you have any comments which you'd like to make to pass on to us, please do so via our chat. Then we'll have the time to go through them and to address them with the panel. So our third speaker for today is Bojana Dimitrovska, who is the founder and treasurer at Kinemastic. Bojana?
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hi. Super, guys. So hi, my name is Bojana, and I'm one of the founders of Kinemastic, and I'm going to try to use this very short time to present Kinemastic and the way that we tap into collectivity and community. So if you could please put the PowerPoint presentation on screen. Great. Can you move to the next slide, please? Okay, super. So if you look at this slide, on the left side, you see a picture of the Kinemastic Collective. While the core team of Kinemastic is made of 6, we do think of ourselves as a community because there are so many other people closely associated with Kinemastic. Like Ali in the far left of this picture here, who has photographed our events for the past 10 years or so, or Mishko, who is standing next to me on the picture, who is one of the founding members, but unfortunately does not live in Malta anymore. However, whenever he is back on the island and back for the Kinemastic Festival, he just slips back into his old role. On the right side, on the other slide, on the other picture, you see what I consider the Kinemastic community. I purposefully chose this picture. I could have chosen lots of other pictures, maybe pictures where, you know, we have people dancing or watching films or hundreds of people at Kinemastic gathering. But this is not what I think that Kinemastic is about. People of all ages and all backgrounds, they all come to our events, sometimes just to spend a couple of hours in a great environment and surrounded with like-minded people. Everything else, the film, the music, it sort of comes almost as a bonus, as an extra. Next slide, please. Great. So how does a great thing start, or the story of the beginnings of Kinemastic? So we were much, much, much younger when we decided that we need to do something to fill up a hole that we thought that was present in the Maltese cultural scene in those days. We were all from completely different backgrounds, from different countries. Some of us were still students, others had jobs. Altogether, we were a very versatile group of people, but we all shared a common interest, and that was that we were hungry for cultural events that broke off from the mainstream. We were looking for film, for music, for art in places that would be devoid of the commercial. We wanted to be surrounded by people who shared at least some of these interests, and we wanted to be free to chat and exchange ideas in an environment without censorship, without judgment. And we saw opportunities for this everywhere. Malta was a very different place back then. We saw a lot of potential in abandoned locations that we discovered, cleared out, and made venues out of them for our events, like the fishing village in Valletta that you can see on this picture, which was one of the most spectacular venues that we ever used. And I don't think it has been used for anything else since. The Garden of Rest, the Guardiola, the Herbert Ganado Gardens, the Red Tower in Melija, Torimamo, countless other venues that we used for our events and brought them back into the public eye. In these venues, we showed films that we liked, sometimes obscure films and bizarre films, and it was irrelevant to us that sometimes only 2 people came to watch them with us. We also brought bands and performers that we like Bonnie Prince Billy and Owen Pallet and the Dark Horses and the Patti Smith concert in the Hajarim, which was such a magic event. And we also discovered a cave in Gargur one day, and voila, Cave Sessions was born because it just made sense that a performance can play in a cave under the top of the world in Gargur. And throughout all of these, we also tried to keep our adult blinkers off as much as possible. And from this desire came the Little Rock People Festival for kids, because we wanted to impart the kinemastic ethos to the young ones, but we also wanted to see them and to hear them and to keep a connection to their narratives and understanding of the world. And it's always really, really wonderful to see them playing in the Garden of Rest or any other venue that we use, and they swirl hula hoops and they get excited about glow sticks and popcorn and movies and watermelon granitas. And these are all things that really cost little, but kids are having such a great time, and most of them will ask their parents in the next summer, is kinemastic happening? Can we go there? And this really brings us a lot of joy. Can we change the slide, please? Yes, and of course, this all reflects on our community, because I think it is because of this joy of ours and from the dedication to organize our events in a very kinemastic way, even maybe from our unwillingness to change, that our community was born. Of course, at the beginning, it was all word of mouth, friends of friends, and everybody came and had a great time, and this community grew all over the years. And sometimes people will come and they ask us, why don't you raise prices? Why don't you make this a profitable event? Why are the tickets, so cheap? And in reality, they are, especially considering what it takes to organize our events. But it is extremely important to us that most people can afford to come to our events. And we truly believe that this is one of the reasons why our base has grown over the years. And for this reason, we also keep a lot of our events completely free, especially the ones which involve parents and their children. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. And from here, you can see basically how kinemastic motivates the community and how the community motivates kinemastic. Basically, we will never ever organize commercial events. The bands and the filmmakers that we like might have a following of 10 people maybe, and maybe 4 of them are from kinemastic. But we really want to show these artists, these filmmakers to our community and to anybody else interested, really. And we like to talk about things that we feel that matter. And we often do this through the Kinemastic Film Club, where we collaborate with other NGOs to discuss topics that are important to us, like green initiatives and social justice and art and culture and philosophical narratives and many other things. And as a matter of fact, we started the online film club this year because of Corona, with films that will hopefully further the discussion about the global Black Lives Matter movement. And we can only hope that the effect of watching these films is going to have a positive spillover to our local communities in Malta as well. Further, when we open the floor for discussions, we always try to bring people who know the ins and outs of their relevant fields. It is important to us to learn from valid and from reliable sources. And we try to keep it fresh at all times. So we change a lot. We change venues, we change format, we change the content and so on. So we're always reinventing ourselves in a way. And I really truly believe that our community responds very positively to all these things that we do, because yes, they can easily access our events, and they do feel a part of the world by just being in our environment and discussing topics of relevance. And they're always curious about what to expect next. Can we change the slide now, please? Great. And of course, there is motivation coming within the kinemastic team as well. And this basically stems from the years and years of investment in kinemastic. It's been 17 years now, 16 years of Kinemastic Film Festival, and sometime before as well. And basically, we like to feel that we're contributing to the community, and we feel appreciated by our community as well. We also like to think that we're adding a little bit of diversity and richness to the local and international cultural scene. It's been amazing over the years to see so many generations of Little Rock people grow up and start attending kinemastic events for grown-ups as well. We also keep a very flat hierarchy within our organization, where everybody is equally important within their roles, but we also put our heads together to create, to solve problems, and very often just to shoot ideas that never come to life. And we always encourage and we try to utilize the interests and the goodwill of all of our members and collaborators. And by collaborators, I don't mean just the people within the Kinemastic team. I mean all the people that are now an intrinsic part of the Kinemastic collective. Like, for example, Chris and Steph, which are designers that live in London and that have created most of our artwork for the past 16 years. Or Christian, capital K, who also flies in from London every year to DJ or to perform at our events. And locally, so many people like Nigel Baldacchino and Dean Wingrow and Violet and so many other people that offer their time freely every year after year. And of course, the volunteers. And it is really great for me to know that sometimes we don't even need to call for volunteers. People just approach us and they ask us, what can we do? How can we help? We just want to be a part of this. And for me, this is what makes a true community. When all these people come together, when they help to create, not an event almost, but to create an experience, the Kinemastic experience. It's almost like a way of life, if you like, an environment, which I feel is unlike any other in Malta. And I have no doubt that people will keep on coming and keep on contributing and collaborating to this community and to these events. Elaine, I'm not sure how much time do I have left. I have a couple of other slides. But
I actually
maybe
think time is up. I was going
okay,
to figure
no
out
problem.
how to let you know. But yeah, unfortunately, the 5 minutes are up.
No worries.
Thanks, Gwen. I think, though, it was a very interesting perspective as well. So like what Jean-Paul was saying, and even with IETM, here it all depends on being authentic, remaining true to yourself and to what you do, and kind of it happening and growing organically. So I think it's that's the interesting part, without pushing it too much in a way. No, I could sense that from your presentation.
No, I agree. And it is not our intention to make Kinemastic huge or to have a massive audience, because it's not even in its true nature the audience that Kinemastic attracts. It's a certain type of audience. So I don't ever imagine that we're going to be a part of some massive mainstream, but we also like it like that. It's something that makes us, I think, very unique and very special on the Maltese cultural scene.
Yes, and in fact, I'd like to ask Marianne something about this from an Arts Council perspective, because you, obviously, this is very important, the fact that Arts Council is supporting such organizations with such setups that work kind of organically within the sectors. That's very important.
Yes, in fact, I have to mention that currently the Arts Council, while we talk, we're wrapping up our strategy Create 2020. You might tell me what is going on about, but I'm going to link this to also our culture partners. So we're wrapping up Create 2020, and in fact, an evaluation of the strategy and a consultation for the new strategy is going to take place in the coming months. Some exciting times coming along. Being that the Culture Partnership is on a multi-annual investment program in which Kinemastic is part of, like the other organizations we're mentioning, they happen to come amidst the whole change of strategy, or rather new strategy, etc. In fact, when we were at proposal stage, part of the commitments was actually to be able to evolve and adhere to the new strategy, which will be following between 21 and 25. Where are we heading to? In fact, something that's very interesting also about kinemastic, which I have to say I've been knowing since birth of kinemastic. I remember the initial events and activities they had were originally when I artistic directed Notte Bianca, and I remember Slavko, who is also a founding member, so I send my regards because I know he couldn't be here with us today, but I remember Slavko actually setting up, and he had a vision. He had a vision and a mission. And I have to say that whilst kinemastic evolved, they remained true to their mission and their vision. So things didn't change, or the voluntary aspect remained. They also went into the crowdfunding and, to sustain themselves, also with the support of the agreement. But I could actually see an evolvement. And that is something, as Arts Council, we feel proud of and we feel part of. We hope it remains that way. The growth remains that way. Also, looking into our new strategy.
Yes, and I think what's also another point which was interesting, and which also Susanne mentioned at one point. I don't know if Susanne is still with us on Zoom, but she was saying how, in a way, allowing the organizations to still leave the partners or the collaborators expressing their own ideas and working in their own way will help.
Extremely important. Our role as the Arts Council is not there to interfere in any way, but rather than to partner, to help, support.
So it's not the usual funder beneficiary kind of relationship which you would like to create.
We're constantly in discussion. We're constantly in discussion, especially in times like these when things had to change. But it doesn't necessarily always consist of growth. We might also like to describe it as evolution. They evolve, retaining and being humble to their original focus.
Good. So now we move on to our fourth speaker, who is Noel D'Amato, Public Relations Officer and Coordinator for L-Ghanja tal-Poplu, who will be sharing some information about the organization and also particularly about the volunteer aspect within the organization, which is quite interesting.
In fact, Marian mentioned something very interesting during her conclusion, how an organization doesn't necessarily grow, but evolves. And this is actually how our festival evolved during the past 46 years. Because the festival was, the first edition of the festival was in 1974 within a youth organization. A youth organization at that time, in the 70s, early 70s, that was the first organization in Malta that made youth from both sexes, males and females, meet in these areas that we are here right now. And eventually they started singing, organizing the festivals, and today this festival is an organization, a standalone organization that works for itself, but always to promote good quality songs in Maltese. Still in the committee are some founding members like Professor Manuel Mifsud and Reverend Morris Mifsud, who almost 50 years ago founded this festival. And this festival evolved from a festival within the organization with no pretenses at all, a festival being organized those times in a school hall, to a nationwide, a national festival now that will be live transmitted also on the national TV station. A festival that promotes original songs in Maltese, good quality songs in Maltese, and gives a national platform opportunity to singers, authors, composers, and other people who contributed in the songs in Maltese field. In fact, every year we give honorable mentions and to people who during their life worked hard to promote our national song. Because we believe that songs are also an art form that people express themselves, their wishes, their ambitions by means of a song. Because after all, we don't express ourselves only with poems and with literature, but even with our song. And we believe in our songs that we have to transmit what the people are feeling. That's why it is the song of the people, because we believe that even the festival evolved during time, and the songs during the years reflect the particular situation the population, the nation was passing through. But we have even a structure, an organization, beside the committee and the working team, the logistics team, which we can see in the picture over there. We have other collaborators like the theater, the TV station, the juries. Then we have members, we have composers, authors, singers, people who are interested in multi-song like DJs, recording engineers, and promoters. And we have also the structure, a group of volunteers, who from year to year, they sustain us and keep us going as well. Beside the festival, here we can see some pictures from recent editions of the festival, and that is the trophy that inherits itself from one member, from a winning song from one year to another. The trophy was designed, in fact, by Albert Frigieri from the Arts School in the 80s. We organize also, we keep all our members, that is the authors, composers, as I said, involved during the year, because we organize for them seminars, workshops, master classes on how to write songs, what is originality, how we can provide platform, how we can enhance and engage more listeners and get more public interested in our own song, and even other. Can you move the next slide, please? All right, that's very good. And we organize also other events, like, for example, recently, the Malta Day in Berlin, where we got Maltese songwriters and to sing songs in Maltese with live translations, as we can see there, and also other events, not only for adults, but even for young people in schools, for adolescents in schools, to encourage them to write what they feel, what they think, and compose some notes to what they've written. In fact, we have school programs for those as well. What keeps us together as an organization, and this is important because we've been together for almost 50 years now. First of all, the most important thing, I think, is the passion for our work. First of all, we are all volunteers and we love what we do because we believe in what we do. And it keeps us together. That's one of the most important things. And we respect each other as humans. We don't see each other as an important role in the festival or in the organization itself, but even as an individual. We respect each other, we listen to each other, we help each other in everyday basic needs, and we love meeting each other, not only to share personal experience, but to do something we love, we want to promote forward, and something we have support from basically all the composers, authors, and singers that live in our island. And what is most important, and this will make it clear to every member of our organization, that we don't have to have personal ego. But what we aim for is that we really need to promote our song. Usually we say, a day might come that the festival, our organization, will succeed when we will not need anymore to organize this festival and such related events, because the composers, the authors, the singers will be producing enough songs every year that we don't have to encourage them, we don't have to make them and alert them to write songs for the festival. But they will be on their own initiative producing songs themselves. Maybe that day will come. What we do also, we do a lot of frequent meetings.
Noel,
And
I have to ask you to wrap up.
Yes. I will be concluding very shortly.
Thanks.
We do frequent meetings, and one of our policies during the organization meeting is not to vote. We never vote. We reach a consensus. We have different ideas because we're different people. We believe if someone is for an idea and the other one is against an idea, everyone has his reasons, and we try to meet a median line, to reach a median line together. So it is our policy that we never vote, but we try to understand each other and we reach a common consensus. And most important of all, even if we have almost 200 members, composers, so as I said, the personal contact. And personal contact is not only by email or by letters or by Facebook messages, etc., but even by organizing meeting and meet them face to face. And if we see some members that are not attending, we either meet them personally or contact them personally via a telephone call. We believe a lot in personal contact, and I think this is one of the key factors that kept us going for almost 50 years.
Well, that's really interesting. And I think you highlighted some very important points, which obviously are challenges in a team dynamic because it's difficult to communicate, it's different to work together, it's different to keep a team there for all these years. So I think it's quite a challenge, but at the same time, it can be an interesting example of how an organization should work, even a more structured organization, how it can motivate its team, its members, So I think these are important values which could be taken up, explored a little bit more. That's very interesting, Noel. So I'd like to move on to our final speaker, who is Christian De Bono from Wicked, who is a Wicked Comics committee member. He will be sharing with us the organization's experience with volunteers, which is also quite another interesting aspect of teams, and of how we team up, we come together, and also in an episodic way. So not continually, but once a year you have this platform and you come together and create this event, major event now in our calendars. Chris.
Thanks a lot, Elaine. So Wicked Comics is a voluntary organization. Its main aim is to promote the comic book scene and pop culture, both local art and also foreign art. And yes, our main flagship event is the Malta Comic Con, which is usually organized in autumn. We've been organizing this since 2009. But we also do some small events during the year as well. Sometimes we collaborate with other organizations as well. And we give local artists and enthusiasts the opportunity to promote their art, to meet other artists as well from abroad, and to showcase their skills. There are some pictures in this slide from the Malta Comic Con. As you can see, there's artists, there's events, workshops, costume competitions. So it brings a lot of different hobbies together. Who is behind the organization? We're a committee of 7 people. There's Fabio, Chris, Christopher, Samantha, Mark, Juan, and myself. We all share a passion for comics and the pop culture scene, and we want to celebrate this scene. And we're all volunteers as a committee. Most of the time we meet in the evening, and the meetings become more regular towards the date of our main event. And you could say that we all have different skills that we can offer to the team. So we all are good at something different. We have the IT person, the expert in comics, the good presenter, So all these skills come together to create this event. And of course, just the 7 of us, we wouldn't be able to organize the Comic-Con. We find other people that are passionate about comics and the pop culture scenes. And sometimes volunteers approach us, and other times we reach out to new people as well to help us out. We use also social media as well to interact with volunteers. And we like to get to know our volunteers as well, because we try to get them involved in what they are passionate about. So sometimes we have volunteers which are passionate about video games. So you will usually find them in the video game area in the event, you know. We try to involve volunteers with different set of skills. We usually have briefings as well for our volunteers to offer them support. And yeah, we also, in the last year, we have nominated some of volunteers as members of the organization, and these volunteers will have added responsibility as well. And this is important as well for Wicked Comics to grow and to help with the renewal of the organization. And we try to make volunteers feel part of our team. We invite them to exclusive events, especially during the weekend of the Comic-Con. During the year, we also have other social events. There are some flyers from different events that we organize during the year. Sometimes we have drinks for Christmas. We organize hikes. We often also team up with other organizations. So even the Malta Comic-Con itself, you have a lot of different cultural organizations involved. It's not just Wicked Comics, but it's a collaboration with also other. I mean, Wicked Comics is the main organizer, but then you have stands and events from different organizations. And sometimes we also team up with other organizations that have similar interests, and maybe we have stands in these events. Sometimes we have video game areas in other events. And this is also important to reach to other people and to meet other people that might be interested to help out with our events. And I think something important with volunteers is to get feedback from them, to get feedback and to listen to criticism, because these are the people that are on the ground during the event, and they are experiencing the event directly. So it's important to listen and to take note of what they say. And of course, there would be no Malta Comic-Con without volunteers and without volunteering. So it's thanks to them that we've been able to organize this event for more than 10 years now.
Thank you, Chris. That's important also that you mentioned how volunteers are at the very core of your team. No, so it's not an addition, it's not an annex to your team. I mean, I think you're all volunteering as well within the organization.
Yes,
no?
yes, we're all working full time, and most of the times our meetings are in the evening. Sometimes we end up carrying on till midnight with our meetings, especially when the event is coming closer.
Yeah, it's a familiar scene because they were all
familiar
like,
with other organizations.
It happens, yes, and also the idea, what was interesting, the idea of exclusivity almost, no? So you become part of a club, and so you have kind of the benefits of being part of that. So
I mean, during the event itself, in the evenings, sometimes we have social events. Our most famous is our karaoke event, where we have foreign and local artists and volunteers.
So you have good singers within your group as well, I assume, otherwise.
There's different levels of, but we have some good ones as well, yes.
Good, that's important. Otherwise, karaoke would be a complete failure, so. Yeah, and I think you're also part of international networks as well, no? Because, and in fact, I'd like to go back to Susanne, if Susanne is still on Zoom, because I think that is also a major challenge to kind of to keep engaged, with people from all over the world. Susanne, I know you mentioned this in your presentation, but I think in a way this particular situation made it easier to be part of meetings quickly. I mean, I could attend a number of meetings in one day, a number of international meetings in one day, so it made it possible. But how is it challenging? How does it make it interesting for you? Like this possibility of having so much interaction on a wide level.
I think as a member, you always go to these meetings with an agenda. So as an organization, you have a need, or you have some questions, or you have something you want to develop, and that's what we always make sure to have a definition of before we go to these meetings. And then we just look who is in the network and who would be either good ambassadors or good supporters for the needs that we have, actually. So we are looking for different people and organizations that have other skills than we do in order to support our goals and the needs of the organizations, basically.
Jean-Paul, you also are part of international networks as well. So kind of you extended your friendship in a sense, no? So
I think even going back to the start of our festival, there's been a big collaboration with literature across frontiers. And it's also a means for, first of all, the festival is a meeting of people, not just a meeting of authors. And especially through our translation workshop, authors meet, and it leads to Maltese authors having their work translated in other languages. So through it, we're moving, also we're exporting our literature beyond our shores.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, like going back to our discussion, it is quite challenging then to actually go there. That's why I was saying the digital aspect almost helped out in a sense.
In a way, yes, because it made it so rather than expecting people to travel, all of a sudden we realized that online meeting is such an easy tool that
accessible,
we can access, yes.
And was it particularly challenging for your organizations now, even the situation, what happened? And I know that Arts Council was pretty much there all the time, kind of offering support and help throughout. But I mean, everyone had to face the situation in its own way. So events cancelled, organizations, people not meeting.
I think we've tried to keep in contact, during this time, and also to listen to feedback from our volunteers. But yeah, digitally, it was easy to keep in contact. So I think that was very important, that we continue to talk to each other as a team.
Something that I thought I'd add, when the situation developed, we immediately got in touch with our partners and beneficiaries, funding beneficiaries, etc., offering, our help. And there were different scenarios. We got partners who actually decided to cancel. That was the first reaction. We'll have to cancel. Eventually, as things evolved, we started talking. We also had the ACM Lab COVID special series, which did very well, I have to say. We had also increased our means of communication, whether it's through email, arts assistance email. We're around the clock, 24/7, because all the lines were diverted to our personal mobiles, I have to say. And we started getting into discussions with the organizations we collaborate with. And eventually, the discussions evolved into, what if we try to do this. What if this could work? Look, they're doing that. So it didn't remain, no, let's cancel. It's the end, you know. So for some organizations, it was slightly more difficult to maybe think out of the box, but there were other organizations who were immediately, quick to shift. It also ties in with the genre or the sort of event or happening you're actually presenting. So yes, we had different genres, but I have to say that all 13, 14, 15 of our investment and cultural organizations, because I feel we're celebrating them through such occasions, they all have sat down and now are actually evolving down this lane, you know. So yes, we're good about it.
Great. So I'm going back to Susanne. I'm curious to know, sorry, I keep coming back to you, but I'd like to know actually how I know that you organized a number of online events, so will you keep it online or do you prefer meetings? What's best to keep your network engaged and there all the time?
Well, I think that we have been in a very extraordinary situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this has forced new solutions to keeping a network alive. So obviously, all the things that we were going to do by meeting personally, we had to do that in a digital manner. But there has been a lot of digital meeting afterwards, both in order to debrief on a national and international level, but also to share the good examples of how people and organizations are working through this crisis. So that's one part of it. But of course, the IETM network really, really strongly believes in live performing arts. And we also strongly believe in the network getting together on a personal level. So this not being possible right now, I think we will just have to live through that. But of course, we also found out that digital tools are very well used. But of course, I think that doing all these digital meetings might be a lot easier for those who already have a strong network. For those who are new into, for example, international network, I think it's a lot easier to connect if you're there in person. So I'm still hoping for the IETM network to meet sometime personally, because we're still people. That really works the best, I believe. And I think most of the IETM network thinks that way as well.
Thank you for that. And on that note, I think we're going to conclude the session. Yes, I mean, we only had the time to touch on certain subjects. I mean, we didn't have the time to go into the detail of the dynamics of a team and motivation, etc. But I think we had some very, very interesting examples and practices which were shared today and which we can kind of take on board and adapt as best as we can to our organizations. So our rapporteur, Stephanie, will now has a very difficult task to summarize all that has been said by our speakers. Stephanie,
thank you, Elaine, and thank you to all the speakers. Yes, I think I'll just start to kind of give this quick recap by pointing out the main points which were discussed today. So we started off with obviously this need to stay in touch with a community, the need to bring people together, and we had all our speakers who spoke about, creating spaces for sharing, for like-minded people, through common goals and interests, which a community is passionate about. Passion was one of the things which was really mentioned today. We also spoke about staying true to beliefs and growing organically, reaching a consensus, a lot of talk about flat hierarchies and then other teams, and specifically also talk about volunteers and means of motivation to keep them engaged, but also a genuine need to know these people who are contributing towards these organizations. We spoke about collaboration and partnership, again, this idea of collaborating with like-minded organizations, and I'll just move on to a quick recap of each speaker. So we had Susanne from IETM and Dansarena Nord, who spoke about a network of almost 500 organizations, which comes together through various ways of staying in touch. So we have member news pages, main events, satellite meetings, caravans in specific regions, the IETM campus, online chats, content, including publications, toolkits, reports, mappings, all of which are there to make sure that anyone who wants to stay in touch can do so in various different ways. And Susanne spoke about the idea of, if you want to engage, you are likely to gain a lot. So the idea of gaining strength and knowledge from such means. Jean-Paul from Inizjamed spoke about an organization that is mainly made up of volunteers and the beliefs, the core beliefs of collaboration, partnership, harmony over competition, and the approach of a team rather than a hierarchy. The motivation of volunteers and the involvement of the public and the community, not just as a spectator. And then we moved on to Bojana from Kinemastic, who spoke about an organization made up of a community of like-minded people coming together with a common goal, and the fact that this is created to the joy and dedication of events in how this community was born. There was also a note about a cross-contamination of motivation, motivating the community, and community motivating Kinemastic, because the community is accessing the events, feeling part of the world that Kinemastic represents, and always remaining curious as to what to expect. But also a motivation coming from within, so a sense of appreciation is felt from the community, and a sense of encouraging and utilizing the skills of volunteers and all those contributing towards the organization. Noel from tal-Poplu spoke about the need to evolve and not to grow, the sense of passion within the organization, the respect, the support, and the communication, and the need to not have a personal ego, but rather to focus on the common goal. And finally, Christian from Wicked Comics spoke about volunteers, the collaboration element, engaging, meeting new people through such an organization, and the need to listen to feedback and criticism. That's mainly it.
Thank you, Stephanie. Very good wrap up. So a couple of thank yous before we end our session today. I would like to thank Arts Council Malta for organizing this session, Marianne Cauchi and all her team. Guests, our guests today, thank you, Susanne, and our speakers from Inizjamed, Kinemastic, Wicked Comics, and L-Ghanja tal-Poplu. Thank you very much for following us and for joining us today. Our next session will focus on keeping memories alive, documentation, and archiving. Hope you can join us next week at 6:30 in the afternoon on Arts Council Malta's Facebook page. Thank you very much for following us. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.